Hey YouTube, welcome to my channel, JS Dwayne here. Today's date is October the 27th, 2020. In today's video, I really want to talk about what's going on within Big Brother 22 All Stars 2. You know how I feel about it this season because, I barely watched this season of Big Brother. Only saw like the first 3 weeks of eviction, and then I saw a few clips within the jury house, and then the Ian Terry situation where the house guest was mocking his autism and his rocking because that's how he dealt with stress. And I think some other clips that I seen regarding Kevin from season 11 coming out towards his family, and his family were Jehovah's Witness people, and how they excommunicate him from their family, which I think is not fair at all. But I barely even saw this season. Barely. Like, I barely even seen this season. Because, when I started watching Big Brother, the first full season of Big Brother I started watching was Janelle Perzina's original season, and that was season 6. And her season, I think it's the only season where 4 women was in the final 4 within that season, and 3 of the women were in the same alliance, and Janelle was more of an outsider within her original season, and she made it to the final 3. And then she did the first All Star season, which was season 7 within 2006, and she made it to the final 3 again. And I think she won America's Favorite House Guest, and I agreed. She was my favorite contestant. Back in the days. That's the first time I actually saw Big Brother. As a whole for the whole entire season. I was 17 when her first original season came out, and then I was 18 when her second season came out, about 15, 14 years ago, like in the 2000s. So I saw her original season, and like I actually saw the first 2 seasons like later on, and I felt like the first 2 seasons was underdeveloped, was because I think that the producers was trying to see how far the show will go. And I think the first season wasn't as successful, but I think within the second season, I think the producers was trying to aim at a certain audience, and I think they got it this time. And I think a lot of people's interest towards watching the show, and it became so much history towards that show, and they made a lot of money off that Big Brother brand. And Big Brother is originally focused off of the Dutch original version of the show. It debuted in 1999, the Dutch version, and the American version came out a year later in 2000. I was about 12, about to turn 13 when that season came out, and I saw those seasons like later on in life, and I feel like those first 2 seasons were underdeveloped, because the producers was trying to see how far the show will come. It's the first season, and everything is not perfect the first couple seasons at all. And then I think, in later seasons, things got a lot better towards the games, the vetoes and all that other stuff. So, for Tyler from season 20 to say that her Janelle's original season was underdeveloped, I don't think so, because are we watching the same season? Like, I believe he's 25 years old, and I'm pretty sure his parents probably didn't let him watch Big Brother at 10 years old. I doubt it, but I'd be surprised if they did. Same thing with Nicole. I remember back from season 18, because I saw that season too. I used to watch that season too. And I remember Nicole Franzel, she was saying that, her parents allowed her to watch Big Brother at 8 years old. Back in 2000, she was an 8 year old. Now she's about almost 30, about 28 years old. So I was very shocked and surprised that her family let her watch that show at 8 years old, because Big Brother didn't come out when I was a kid. Big Brother came out when I was more of a teenager. So I was very confused by Tyler's comment of saying that Janelle's original season was underdeveloped, which I don't think so. I think the first couple seasons were underdeveloped because, as I mentioned earlier, the producers trying to see how far the show will come, will become, and how far that, how the show will go, and see what type of audience will attract the show. All means necessary, and they got what they wanted. And I have to say that, Big Brother's a very successful show with their own right. You know what I mean? And I don't agree with him when he said that her Janelle Perzina's original seasons were underdeveloped. Like, no, it wasn't. Like, I don't know what season you're watching because I guess we're not watching the same season. And I'm a viewer, and he's a contestant on the show or a house guest, and I never, been in California in my life before. And, I think when the time that when I was younger, I was 17 when Janelle's original season came on TV in 2005. And I'm like, I always wanted to, go on Big Brother. That was my dream. Besides going to Las Vegas, I've never been in the West Coast, but I always wanted to, go to do Big Brother because I'm like, this game sounds so fun and stuff like this. And, I really want to enjoy this because I'm not, I didn't want to go to Big Brother for clout. There's some people that probably do the show for clout. I just wanted to go for experience, you know what I mean, to have fun, and there's some people that get recruited for the show that never even heard of the show, which is interesting for me to hear. But hey, they've been on the show, and I always wanted to go on the show, watching Janelle's original season, and then I watch, season 5, season 4, season 3, this season where June won, and I actually saw Will's season, Dr. Will. I actually liked it, Dr. Will, and I liked it, Monica. She actually came back season 7 as a potential house guest, but she was never picking. I would love to see her, on a future All Star season if they ever pick her because I feel like she spoke her mind very well. She played a very good game and I liked her gameplay and she made it to the final 3 and she picked Dr. Will to win and also Danielle from season 3, she made it to the final 2. I felt that she, played the best game. I think that what happened was that the producers allowed the house guests on season 3 to watch her on confessions, and I felt that they made a huge mistake. And I think on future seasons, they didn't let house guests watch the confessions until after they come home from the Big Brother house. And I think she was the only Black American woman to ever make it that far, along with Monica Bailey. And this was like the first early seasons because with me, I'm always the type of person to really speak my mind and stuff like this. And like I just couldn't be the type of person to be a cage bird, like not to say anything. And I think you have to be very careful towards being vocal in the house. Like you have to be be careful of being vocal because I think the younger house guests will actually use that against you. Because I think in the 2000s, a lot of people, a lot of house guests who are older was very vocal. They didn't care, and they was not even targeted at all. And the new generation, like it's so different from the old school generation. Like, be vocal. Nowadays, they put you up next week, which is, very weird to me. And a lot of them play very personally nowadays. And, like, I don't know if I can be in that type of environment where I have to deal with that almost every week. Because I feel like it will drive me insane. And I just feel like it's just not right to be quiet about certain things that is bothering you. And I feel like the younger people, younger than 29, because I'm over 30 years old, they take things very personally, and I just don't understand the gameplay that they play. Like this, like most of us, not most of us, but most of them don't even know each other. Coming into the house, unless if they doing an All Star season, and with the first All Star season, some of them don't know each other, some of them do, and they have a lot of fun within the first All Star season. But I feel that this season here is very toxic. It's very toxic, very negative. I feel like people wasn't able to play their own games because I feel like the season was pre-gamed. I feel like the game was practiced in a way. I feel like it was practice, and I feel like people wasn't even doing their own moves. Like, who the hell asks for permission to play their own game? Who the hell does that? Like, I would never ask my alliance permission to make any type of moves in the house to get any type of house guests out regarding game wise. Like, who does that? Like, are you serious? And I was just let down, regarding how the house guest was playing this season. I feel like this season, I feel like it was just a waste. It's just a waste of time, and me looking at it, I just shook my head. And as I mentioned earlier, I barely even watched this season. I probably watched this season once, it goes off the air, but I barely even watched this season. Barely. And I think I only saw a few clips, and the last episode I seen was Davon's eviction, then the jury clips. Like, I didn't really watch the vetoes or the nominations or the speeches at all. Because I just was working, I just didn't have enough time. And, you know, I think a few house guests was actually rubbing me the wrong way this season, especially with the Ian Terry situation. Ian Terry was one of the former winners of Big Brother. He played season 14, and he had autism on a spectrum. And when I actually saw his original season on 14, like he had a little bit of movement, but it wasn't that noticeable. And I think some of the people kind of took notice, or that he was just weird or something like that, but they didn't really pay it no mind. And I think he didn't let it be known within his first season, and he won it. And I saw his season, and it didn't bother me at all, because I feel like at that time, I feel like it was just right for him to talk about himself in that way. Probably talked about it with the producers. Who knows? I don't know. Probably the house guys probably didn't know either. But when he came back 8 years later, within season 22 of All Stars, season All Stars 2, he told the house guests that he was autistic. And a few of the house guests was, constantly complaining about his rocking. And I'm like, to myself, mostly Memphis, who was a runner up on season 10 of Big Brother. And I didn't see his season at all. I barely even saw his season. But he was constantly complaining about Ian Terry's rocking, and it made him very uncomfortable, as well as the two other house guests. Uncomfortable. It was Christmas, and it was Danny, who was from season 8 and season 13 of Big Brother, and her father made it to the final two, and her father was the winner, and he was vocal regarding the way that she was playing the game, and he felt that she didn't play the best game that she know how, and he was very disappointed. And I don't blame him, and he was very disappointed how Danny handled the situation with Ian Terry being autistic. Like, he felt that she handled it not well at all. And Nicole Franzo from season 16 and season 18, she was another winner on the show, and she was laughing about it. And I'm like, there's nothing funny about somebody that has intellectual disabilities. You don't do that at all. And what? I don't blame, the fans by going contacting Nicole Franzo's sponsors, like Olay wine companies, because Nicole does podcasting with her fiance Victor, and she's been doing podcasting for like a while, and it was very successful because of the brands, the sponsors, and the sponsors gave her a lot of money regarding the ads and stuff that's being played within her broadcast. And I believe her boyfriend runs the podcast for now, and he expressed that he was very disappointed, with the way that Nicole handled the Ian Terry autism situation when she was laughing. And to me, it's just a form of discrimination. It's just not right, because I have two nephews that is autistic, and one has Down syndrome, and my Down syndrome nephew is 14 years old, and I don't know my Down syndrome nephew that well. Is because he was born when I was almost 19 years old, so I wasn't really around him like that. And I wasn't around him too much like that at all. And I went to college in Buffalo, and my sister then moved to North Carolina while I was in Buffalo, and so I don't really know him that well. But he's my nephew because of my older sister. And don't let him being autistic and Down syndrome fool you. I have to say that people with intellectual disabilities is very smart people, very determined people. Like, don't let their, disability fool you. They're very smart individuals. There's some of them that go to college, who are famous, have their own business, work in food factories, because when I was in high school, I worked with a woman that that was autistic, and she was a very nice woman to me. She treated me fairly, and I treated her fairly. And I only had a job for, like, I think about about 2 years because I transferred to Rochester's Kmart, but Kmart is no longer in existence. But she was very nice to me, and she treated me well, and she was a very cool person despite her having intellectual disabilities. She was very nice to me, and she was very respectful, and I was respecting her. Very sweet woman, and I really miss her. I really do. I haven't seen her since I left Kmart back in 2008, but she was a very nice woman to me, and she treated me very nicely, and they very smart individuals, and don't let their intellectual disabilities fool you, because they're very cool people. And I had friends that that was autistic too. Like my friend who's transgender, she was autistic, and she was in special needs program. You know what I mean? Because I want to be very careful how I reword certain situations. But she was very nice and very smart people. And I went to summer school with many of them, during my summer school years, because I went to summer school until I was 15 years old. Like when 2003 hit, I stopped going to summer school. And, they're very smart, goal oriented people, very smart people. Many of them go to colleges. Some of them runs their own business. They're managers. So don't let that fool you. And there's some autistic people that is verbal and non-verbal. Some of them rock, some of them make noises. Some of them communicate in that way to actually deal with stress, because some of them don't communicate properly, and autism is a very serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and to interact with other individuals. And Down syndrome, it deals with the 21st chromosome not being reproduced properly while reproduction of the fetus, while the woman gets pregnant. So my nephew was born Down syndrome, and very smart individuals. I see pictures where my sister Michelle, actually, post pictures of her son getting school achievements, certificates, and everything. And I'm like, I'm a very proud uncle. I can't wait to see them this summer, especially next summer or the next year or so, once this COVID-19 or pandemic is over. I can't wait to actually see them, because I'm so proud of my family. I really am. And it makes me sad that I don't really see them, but don't let that fool you. And then I have another nephew who's 25 years old that is autistic too. And I was concerned because I was like, why haven't he moved out of my older brother's house? Because I have two older brothers. But I'm talking about my second older brother. He have an autistic son, and then I found out the situation from my first older brother that he was autistic. But he know how to talk and communicate and have conversations with people. But I think that my older brother, my second older brother, have to look after him, since I think he can't really communicate properly or know how to deal with certain situations by himself. So he's there. But I never asked my older brother those questions regarding his son, because I feel that is not my business. And despite him being my nephew, is not my concern. But I felt that those Big Brother house guests within season 22 All Stars 2 should have handled this very properly. If Memphis, Christmas, and Danny and Nicole had problems with his rock and Ian Terry's rock, and they should have moved. They should have went to another room and not worry about it themselves. And there's three of them that has kids. One has a son, that's Memphis. One has another son, that's Christmas, and Danny has a daughter. So they should have went about this very differently and walked away. So what if he stresses you out? I feel like, they should have went about this very differently. And the way that I seen this, I was very upset. I was pissed off because I have nephews that have intellectual disabilities. Very different. And that really turned me off. And I'm like, I don't know if I can be in Big Brother and people can talk behind your back, because I feel that happens all the time in every season, of Big Brother. Because I watched, Janelle's original season, and then I didn't watch Evil Dick's original season at all. Like, I barely even saw his season. Like, and then I watched the season, I think 3 weeks ago, and I was entertained. by his personality. I think a lot of people is not into rebels because I feel like a lot of people are scared of them, but he is his own person and he has that rock and roll, blunt attitude that a lot of people can't really relate to. But I feel like he's cool. I don't know if I will ever meet him, but he seemed cool you know, and he played his own game. He ruffled feathers in his original season, and he didn't care. He came on top, and I liked his gameplay. I really do. And they're the first family that ever made it to the final two. Him and his daughter Danny, but he was very disappointed how um, Danielle played Big Brother this season. Like the way that she was playing was not her game at all. And he felt that she was playing somewhat of a pre game, not her own game that she played on season 8 nor 13. Because I didn't see her second season, because I think that's the season where Rachel from The Amazing Race and season 12 of Big Brother um, played. She won her second season, but was on Amazing Race, I think, on three different seasons. I think season 20, season 24, and season 31. And Janelle was on Big Amazing Race too, I think a year ago. But I just didn't like some of their gameplays. And I remember Nicole and Janelle got into an argument. I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like this girl is not going to be likable. I'm referring to Nicole Franzo, not Nicole Anthony, because Nicole left week 2. I feel like this girl is not going to be likable at all. And my intuition was right. And the way that she was acting was so different from her original seasons, from season 16 and season 18. Like, very different people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is your second or third time on the show. Like, come on, you should know better. You should act, accordingly. You have to realize these cameras is on you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They're going to watch your every movement. So, and also these cameras doesn't have no day off. Like, these producers don't get no days off. Like, especially when you're on a reality TV show, like these producers, they just record all the time, no off days or nothing. They're going to be on you 24/7. So you have to act accordingly, and you have to be very careful what you say or do in the house, because fans will see that, and some of them is gonna like you, and some of them is not gonna like you no more because of the way that you was acting in the house during your Big Brother seasons. And with me, I don't know if I can be on a show like that, because I'm very blunt and frank when it comes to my opinions, and I feel like probably some of that would probably definitely rub other house guests the wrong way, and there's some of them that will actually love your bluntness or frankness, and some of them will be very uncomfortable regarding that situation. But I just feel like this season was a total snooze fest. I feel like it was so boring because it was just no big moves at all. I feel like when Janelle went home week 3, I just feel like I feel like this season was about to go down like quick. Like, I just couldn't even watch it because it was just so painful. It was very toxic, very toxic environment. And I feel like the producer should have handled this a lot better, because when Ian Terry was being mocked regarding his autism, which was very disrespectful, they showed Kevin from season 11, who made it to 3rd place. They showed about him talking about his family being Jehovah's Witnesses, and how his family excommunicated because from him, from regarding the family, because he's gay. And I'm like to myself, they didn't show Ian Terry being mocked, but they showed Kevin talking about his family excommunicating him because he's gay and he's biracial. I believe he's black and Japanese. It doesn't matter. But he was talking about his family excommunicated him because he's gay, and he being who he is. And I was being a jerk at the time. I'm like, who cares? Like, gay people come out every single year, and the way that I went about it was not the best, but I feel like it was just not the right time. They showed him talking about him coming out, so many years ago, but they didn't show Ian Terry, being mocked by 3 or 4 house guests because he's different. And he's a very smart young man. He went to college. he works in huge corporation company. Like, good on him, and he's in a very successful relationship with a woman that cares for him. And for them to come around here and to act like that is so disgusting. It's very barbaric and evil. I'm like, I can never do that to somebody that's very different. And if I ever did that to my siblings' children, or if I ever mocked them or hurt them, my siblings will not put up with that with me, and they will go off on me. And I feel like that I would definitely deserve that. But I'm happy that Nicole actually got her sponsors taken away from her, because I think that she don't know that part of the information because they locked in the Big Brother house. But she has answers to deal with when she comes out of the house. People has to deal with their consequences. If they lose their business, that's their karma. That's on them, and they have to deal with this the best way that they know how to deal with it. They'll be their karma, and I have to say that for those other three that are parents, they should be ashamed of themselves. And I'm like, they have to be very careful, because I hope to pray to God that they don't have any family members that is autistic, or any of their offspring or children has the autism spectrum disorder, because there's nothing wrong with it. They need to be careful how they carry themselves, because that could be their karma. Even Nicole, Danny, Memphis, and Christmas, that would have been their karma. And that's why you have to be very careful with the things that you do. And like, I have to say, I feel sorry for Nicole's fiance Victor, that he's being put into this situation. But I don't know what's going to happen. We don't know the situations. But what I saw on YouTube, I was really upset, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I have nephews that is autistic, and one that is Down syndrome, and I would never make fun of my nephews, because my sister and my brother would never go for people disrespecting their children. Like, there's no way in hell. And the way that I see it, I was very disgusted. And the way that the house guest was being treated was disgusting. And I just couldn't, be in a house, dealing with that, because like, I was a big fan of the show, and I barely even saw this season. And it just rubbed me the wrong way as a viewer, me watching the show, because I used to always watch the season after season 14. I watched it every year, but I barely even saw this season. I probably have to watch this season once it finished airing, because I don't know if I can watch Big Brother this upcoming Wednesday, because I feel like, we already know who's probably going to win, probably Cody, which I'm not surprised about at all. But I didn't really care for his brother at all. But people are very different outside of the house, so I have no idea. They're probably different outside of the house. We don't know, because we don't know these people, because just because we see them on TV doesn't mean you know them. You don't know we don't know them. We don't know nothing about them or anything regarding their personal lives. But the behavior that I saw on YouTube videos, I was just disgusted. I was really upset, and I'm sorry, but that's a form of discrimination. And these jobs should not put up with people who discriminate against other people that are different. It doesn't matter if you're autistic, Down syndrome, LGBT, whatever skin discoloration disorder that you have, whatever. I feel like it should never be tolerated, and I stand with these sponsors cutting the cult out of their sponsoring. I don't blame them at all, because it's just not right, and to me it's just very disrespectful, and it's not polite at all. And when I saw that, that really hurted my feelings, the way that the situation was being taken towards. And I'm like, this girl is not gonna be likable at all. And I was pretty much right. Like, when I say things, I'm very intuitive when it comes to certain situations, and I was in my gut. I'm like, this girl is not gonna be likable. But I hope that people this season be able to learn their lesson regarding how to handle certain situations, especially if they're parents in the house. They should handle it a lot differently. And the treatment was disgusting. And I don't know if I can be on a Big Brother season. I don't know, because I feel like I just wouldn't put up with so much mess at all, because I've been a fan of the show since I was 13 years old. I've been a fan for 20 years, and I feel like this season and some of the previous seasons were big letdowns, because of the racism and the stuff that was going on. And I don't know if I can be in the house, because Black Americans, mostly most of them are, evicted early because they feel that, most of us Black Americans have very strong personalities. And I'm like, you can't be stereotypical like that at all. It's just not right. And but this, I hear All Stars season 2 was the first season where most Black Americans made it past week 7, which was a surprise for me. Like, and I think the last person that Black person that made it far, I think, was Kevin from season 11, who was on the season of Big Brother. But the way that it was handled was not right at all, and I think, it was not a lot of Black runner-ups or winners at all. But Tamar won the Big Brother celebrity version, but not a regular season. I hope that that would definitely change. I feel that Big Brother should bring more variety into the show, different personalities. I feel like Big Brother casts the same people all the time, and I feel like it should be a change. I feel that if Big Brother don't come with the changes, I feel like a lot of people is going to lose interest, within the show within the next few years, and the show probably is going to be canceled because people want to see variety onto the show, because there's a lot of younger people that is being picked for the show. I think the oldest is probably 40, and there was some other previous seasons where a 55-year-old man came into the house, and I liked it, Cliff. I really did, but he made a few mistakes with the game, but I liked him. He was so cool. But I think the oldest contestant that been in the house was Jerry. He was in his 70s at the time. I think he's probably 30 something, 80 something now. Not 30, but 80 something now. He was 73. He was from Dan's season, original season 10, and he made it to third place, and he was in his 70s at the time, and he's like 80 something now. And I was so happy, and he was a military vet, and I was so happy how far Jerry came until his that season where Dan won, because he came back season 14. I'm talking about Dan, but Jerry, he made it so far, and I was so happy for his accomplishments. But I will say that I didn't see his original season. And Keisha, who was the first girl to go home this season, she's from that season too. And I'm like, I saw, because me and Keisha, we share the same birthday, and she started going off. I was like, oh my gosh. I said, that girl was not playing with none of the house guests in the house. Like, that girl was going off. And she was not playing no prisoners at all. And she was very vocal about the house guests, on this season of Big Brother, season 22. And she was not playing, because sometimes I be snooping on Twitter sometimes, and she was just not playing at all. And I'm like, this girl, you go, girl. Like, seriously, because I don't have a Twitter page, but I be going on Evil Dix and Keisha's page, and they be vocal, and they be going off on these contestants, and they just don't care. And I be laughing because it's hilarious, but it's true. I feel like some of them just need to change their attitudes. I'm talking about the contestants that was very disrespectful towards Ian Terry, and I have to say that Nicole actually knew him outside of the house, and if he sees this season and he probably saw her, mocking him like that, I don't know what he's gonna do. He's probably gonna cut her out of his life. But if I was autistic and somebody mocked me and dogged me in the house and hurt my feelings and put me down, and I saw that, I had to cut them loose, because I can't be around that negativity, and I can't be around somebody that would definitely criticize me because I'm different. And he doesn't know that happened in the house. Like, he don't know that happened, and my feelings was hurt for him. I actually wanted to cry when I saw him being mocked, when people was complaining about the way that he was carrying him, when he was rocking, not carrying himself, because that's how some people deal with stress. Because Big Brother is a stressful situation. Like, everything is peaches and cream until you start playing, and it could be very stressful. And I think that's what a lot of people is not seeing, and I don't know if I can be, dealing with that type of situation, and it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I just didn't like that at all. And I just hope that, because I think next season is probably a regular Big Brother season, but if they ever come with a Big Brother All Stars 3, I feel like pre-gaming should not be allowed at all. Any type of game play, cheating, before getting to the Big Brother house, months before, should not be allowed. It should not be allowed at all. And I feel like people who pregame should be accountable. And I feel like, the way that they was playing that game should not be allowed at all. I feel like pre-gaming for future All-Star seasons should not be allowed, and I feel like the producers should hold the previous contestants accountable, because I feel like that was not acceptable at all. And that's all I can say, because that's my take on the situation, because I feel like that's just not fair. It was just very painful, very boring season. I just feel like it was just not a lot of big moves being played this season, and I was just let down. And that was this Big Brother here, season 22. It's one of the seasons where I didn't really watch the season, because I think the last time I saw Big Brother on TV was, I think, August the 20th, where I actually watched Nicole Anthony's eviction. I think that's the last time I ever saw Big Brother on TV. And I saw some clips, on YouTube, but I haven't really watched this season. I probably have to watch this season later on. Big Brother comes, once a year in the summer, so I'm probably gonna be disappointed anyways. But I'm like, it's probably a waste of time watching this season. It was just very disappointing the way that the house guest was carrying themselves. Like, seriously, it was just it was just a turn off for me watching the season. It was just so painful, and that's my take on it, because it's just not fair at all. And I felt that Ian Terry and the house guests did not deserve that, especially him. And I feel sorry for him. And if I was him, I would cut these people out of my life that made fun of me and mocked me and dogged me out on national television. And I'm like, these people came here 2 or 3 times. They should know better. They are grown adults here. Most of these people is over 21 years old. They should know better. They should know better from right and wrong. And I feel like they should be accountable for their actions. Like, seriously. I know that Big Brother only allowed people that come near over 21 years old, but there was 2 other people that played Big Brother, and they was under 21. It was a 19-year-old girl that came there, season 5, I believe, season 5. I don't know who she is, and Danny, who played season 8, 13, and 22. Season 22 of this season, she was 20, about to turn 21, coming into the house. So I think those are the only 2 previous house guests that played Big Brother that are under 21. And also, I want to say good luck to the Filipinos and the Filipinas that is auditioning for BB Pinoy or Big Brother Philippines. I see a lot of them is auditioning through YouTube. I forgot the app that they auditioning for. I forgot the name of it. I don't know if it's Vumu. I'm not too sure. But I saw a lot of them auditioning through that app, and I saw a lot of auditions on Facebook. And I have to say, to all the Filipinos that auditioning for Big Brother Philippines or BB Pinoy, I wish you guys the best of luck, and I hope that I see people that does vlogging here on the show. And I only saw 1 episode of the show, and I don't understand Tagalog whatsoever, but they allow 16-year-olds to audition for the show. They allow kids to audition for the show, and I think they allow contestants to be between 16 to 35, which was interesting for me, because I'm like, the Big Brother Pinoy or Big Brother Philippines, their show is very different from the American version of the actual show itself. Is very different. I can't describe how the show is, because I only watched 1 season, not one season, but 1 episode of the actual show, and I forgot which season that was, but I only saw one episode so far, and it's so different from the Big Brother season, because on the American version you have to be over 21 to be on that show, but on the Filipino version you have to be 16 to 35 to play on the show. And I wish every Filipino that audition on the show the best of luck. And you know who you are, you guys, because I saw the audition tapes. So I wish every one of you guys the best of luck, and you guys got my support and so forth. And much love to you guys who gets on the show within the next month or two. Is audition process, but I think you have to be of Filipino descent to be on the show. But I wish them the best of luck, and all of them got my full support, and I'm gonna root for them, to the best individual win, you know. But, you know, within this season of Big Brother, I was bored and I was just disappointed with people's actions this season. And I hope that, you know, future seasons of Big Brother, people do not cooperate in that type of way at all, because I feel like it was just a total letdown. And this is the first time where I ever spoke about a game show on my channel, because on my first video I wanted to talk about, you know, shows that is within the public eye, and this is the first time I ever spoke about Big Brother on this platform, like seriously, in my channel, especially because I'd be seeing Big Brother recaps and stuff like that, and I don't know how I feel doing recap shows regarding Big Brother, because I'm like, I don't have the time, and you know, I don't watch the episodes enough. And but a lot of people get views like that. But this is my take about the Ian Terry situation and how I feel about this season of Big Brother, how I feel about the season so far. And I have to say, I was just very disappointed, and that's how I feel so far. All right, guys, peace and love to everybody, and you guys have a very good night. All right, good day, people, and peace to all.